Under the Radar, bringing movies and people together, one frame at a time. Hey guys, I'm Randy Younger, and this is another episode of Under the Radar, bringing movies and people together, one frame at a time. And with me, as always, I have a wonderful panel of guest critics. We've got Rachel Kolb. Hello, Rachel.
Hello, happy to be back.
And Eric Godfrey.
Hello.
And of course, on the screen, we have Mr. Chris Clemente back from a little hiatus, but he's back, and we're very excited to have him. Chris. How's it going?
Hey! How's it going, guys?
Yeah.
I feel like the Wizard of Oz.
Yes, the all-encompassing. So, all right, guys. So we've got two films to discuss as usual, and they're both very impactful films. They're very important films, and they both deal with a civil war, basically. And the first one is called Civil War. It is now in theaters, and it is basically another A24 release, but this one's a little more action-packed than the typical A24 film, in my opinion. It follows a group of journalists who basically want to travel from New York City to Washington, D.C. amidst a huge civil war. There are different factions within the country that they're divided. There's conflict all over the land, and you really don't know who to trust. Even if you want to get some gas for your car, that could be like a life or death situation. This film was firmly anchored by Kirsten Dunst, who I think this might be her finest performance yet. And we have the same birthday, so there's a special place in my heart for her. I've loved her since Spider-Man, but she's definitely grown into a much more capable actress. And I think I see some awards coming her way in the near future for this performance.
Yeah.
I also want to make note of Wagner Moura, who plays another journalist on their quest to get to Washington, D.C. He's a wonderful Brazilian actor, and I think he carried the film very well with Dunst. And yeah, this film, it's great. It's a great balance of drama and action. This is some of the best action sequences I've seen in a film in a long time, and I just love the balance of both genre, of action and drama. But enough of my rant. Rachel, what did you think of Civil War?
Civil War was a really good movie. When we got out of seeing Civil War, I immediately said we have to go next door to the bar next door because I need to unpack my feelings about this movie.
Okay.
Because there's so much to take in with it, and there's so much to talk about and think about with it. Really, I see this movie as an existential crisis for war journalism. Because it's the question of, in today's world, when we are just so oversaturated by media from so many different sources, it's the question of what is the purpose of these photographers that are going in and sometimes taking pictures of people's last moments of life.
Right.
Because it used to be thought that once photography was readily available, once cell phones were able to take video, once we keep, kind of moving the goalposts that it's like, once this is available readily, then these things won't happen anymore because it'll be recorded and it will be, people will be able to see it. The whole thing about the revolution will be televised. Well,
it's
we've
literal.
gotten past that point.
It's definitely happened, yeah.
And it seems that the oversaturation has just made us kind of numb to it.
Yeah.
So the question is, for characters like Kirsten Dunst, it's what's the purpose of what they do?
Right. It's just something she needs to do. It's her, not only her job, it's her calling. It's something she's very passionate about. And also, I wanted to put a disclaimer out. I didn't want this episode to be too political.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But that was well put.
I think the movie is also not necessarily political.
Right.
It is really, if anything, it goes out of its way to stay away from placing either side into a political camp.
Right.
There's certainly some allusions to types of political figures and to political movements, but this is not a left versus right movie.
Right. It's sort of like a satire almost with like reflections of reality.
I guess I'm going to have to disagree because I get what you mean. It is a very political movie. It is but it's not political in contemporary sense. Like the danger of a movie, especially right now in an election year, is to assert that side is this side. That's that's the left. That's the right.
Yeah.
There's a reason why, like within the first moments of the movie, our sides are the American government versus Texas and California.
Yeah.
And so it's like, it's like the most extreme blue-red states have now allied themselves. So Garland himself, which one of my favorite writers, Ex Machina, Annihilation.
Sure.
I love his work, and this is Civil War is amazing. Is it's clearly an authoritarian regime being overthrown. It's just that you don't want to say, well, that's Trump, that's Biden, that's the left, that's the right, because that doesn't matter. Our characters are the people who step back and just show you what's happening. And that's what I loved. It's that it's not about saying who's right or who's wrong. It's just about capturing the moment.
Right.
And that's what I think this film gets incredibly right.
And this film definitely echoes reality. It echoes
Yes.
the moments that we are living in as not just, audience goers,
Yeah.
but Americans.
Yeah.
And I think this movie might be kind of motivational come election time. I think this can definitely sway voters a certain way. I think it's an important film.
I mean, maybe like I said, it's the problem of at the core of it is simply it should because it's simply about we need to have a truth, and I think that's very much about the movie. I mean, like literally, the movie opens with a lie, and a lie that is then shown to be a truth, and then that lie permeates the movie throughout all of it, and so it's what you're being told as what you're being shown,
Right.
and that's what I love that our characters are photojournalists, even to the point where. Not too much about the two main photojournalists. One is digital, one is one is analog.
Right.
One chooses what they show, whereas the other has it engraved on black and white,
Right.
no matter what.
I love how, and this isn't really a spoiler, but she brings her developing
Yes.
chemical solution
Yeah.
with her in a
And-
jar and the whole process. I love that.
And as with all great movies,
Yeah.
I have not stopped thinking about it. So
Okay.
there are certain shots, especially the ending.
Yeah. Well, the one scene that sticks out to me is obviously, I guess for you guys, I'm assuming, Jesse Plemons.
I mean, of course.
Without giving anything away, my favorite scene in the movie. They use it prominently in the trailers.
Yeah.
And that scene is just chilling.
Shockingly, not my
Yeah.
favorite, but
Yeah.
still one of the most
Oh, yeah.
one of the most memorable.
And they got
Yeah.
him. He wasn't even going to do the movie. He was just available. It was
those
like pure luck.
Stupid sunglasses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a trend. I'd wear them. But the great and all powerful Oz. What are your thoughts on Civil War, good sir?
I have not had an experience like that in the theater for quite some time. So it was, do I dare say, a treat, because I wish there was more treats like that in the theater, but it was phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Nice. What did you think of the performances? Did any one stick out for you?
Oh, I mean, everyone was great, especially Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that she did so much by portraying so little, you could see it in her body language and her
Right.
face. And that was really of great direction from Andrew Garland, where he wanted her years to be shown on her face and through
Yeah.
her gait. And,
I wonder.
and
Yeah.
the fact that she said so little, and then it kind of bubbled up towards the end, that was phenomenal direction.
She basically became a veteran herself, like just photographing all this horrific stuff, and you could definitely see it. Like you said, on her face. I don't know if the makeup department helped with that in some way, but they did a great job. Kirsten Dunst did a wonderful job. I've never seen acting like this from her before.
It is kind of nice to have a movie just let things sit and let silence and let a performance tell you more about it.
Yeah.
Like just a scene of her and her camera and a photo that she took and about whether or not does she want that photo wordlessly.
Yeah.
And it's just like that little moment is so big and not a line of dialogue, and it's like it's nice to just let me think about it instead of being told how to feel.
Yeah, it's a very subtle film
Exactly,
and very emotional.
Yeah,
and it's
and Garland is so good at that.
Yeah.
He's so good at that.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised that we haven't talked yet about Stephen McKinley Henderson, who
Yes.
played Sammy in
Right.
the movie.
He
who-
plays he's a journalist for the New
he's
York
the
Times.
writer.
Yeah, he's,
Yeah.
he's the writer of the bunch. Well, the rest of them are all photojournalists. He's on the writing side of things.
Right.
Yeah, stupendous, just
He's
absolutely
actually
amazing.
a Tony Award. He's been nominated for a bunch of stuff on stage rather.
Yes.
And actually, the first thing I saw him in was Tower Heist with Ben Stiller and Eddie Murphy.
Yes,
He
yes.
played the doorman, and he was just a very tortured soul. He's got such a presence, and
Yeah.
just you could just very expressive eyes, and his voice is just, it kind of resonates. And just a fantastic actor.
Yeah. Of course, Fences.
Mhm.
Incredible in
Yep.
Fences.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And Lady Bird, which is a
Oh, my.
huge ensemble cast for that movie, but still manages to make a mark in it.
He was also in Lincoln, and he's, like I said, it's a lot of stage. And yeah, just a very seasoned actor, and he definitely added some gravitas to this
Yes.
performance, to this
Yeah.
film. Also worth mentioning is young Kaylee Spaney. I hope I'm.
I believe that's how the last
Yeah, as the aspiring photojournalist who's basically inadvertently taken under the wing of Dunn's character.
Yeah.
And I think she gave a fantastic performance too.
Oh yeah, no, this it's.
I think across the board.
Yeah, there is no bad. Everybody builds a bigger thing out of this, and it's one of those ones. It's like I don't see how I could get to the end of the year and not have Civil War as one of my favorites.
I think this is up there for me too.
Yeah, it's just in the alone and how much it has stuck with me.
Right. And in a weird way, it felt like an episode, like a 2-hour episode of Walking Dead, but no zombies, which was a relief.
It didn't help that your father figure, quote unquote, was named Joel.
Yeah.
No, see the movie that I actually thought of when we saw this that I felt would make for a good companion piece is Children of Men.
Oh my, that's
which
such a
is
great one.
also another sort
Yeah.
of road
Road
trip
trip.
movie.
Yeah.
Right.
Unconventional.
That
road
would have
trip.
been a good one to pair with this.
Yeah, that's great.
Fantastic. And I love the action sequences. I mean, I think they were beautifully choreographed and executed.
Brutal.
But yeah,
They were-
beautiful.
oh, yeah.
Beautiful is a word for it. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the problem of it's like you're right. It's awe-inspiring, but it's
Yeah.
you're watching you're seeing things from sniper battles in the middle of a golf course surrounded by Christmas ornaments
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the Lincoln Memorial, and it's just like it's devastating in
I know.
watching Americana at
Yeah.
war.
It's like strangely beautiful to see that.
Yeah, it is, but it's like at the same time, it's like this should not be happening.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
At no point you're like this is bad.
It's a very wholesome setting, but a lot of horrific stuff going on.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think A24 knocked it out of the park once again with this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Garland put another one just
Yeah.
on his amazing record.
He knows what he's doing behind the camera, and he definitely knows how to
Absolutely.
direct his actors.
Yeah.
He definitely could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I don't want to give too much away, but Nick Offerman as the president, I mean,
Yeah.
pretty great. Yeah, I think that was really, really good. And Jesse Plemons I mentioned as well. I would have loved to have been the casting director on this because they did a great
Yeah.
job. Yeah, for sure. And Eric, I think this might be on my top 10 as
Oh,
well.
absolutely.
Yeah. If not, I mean, dare I say number one? I don't want to jinx things.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see when we get there. But
We'll
it's
see.
like
we
it's
still got a lot of years.
there's
left.
still
We do,
there's
we
still
do.
plenty of surprises around the corner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. So,
Right.
Civil War.
We haven't seen Beetlejuice yet.
That's true. Yes.
Beetlejuice, it's called.
Yes.
Or B2 or whatever you want. So Civil War is currently in theaters, but hurry up, guys, because I think it is almost out of theaters. So I'm glad we all got a chance to catch it. So that's awesome. So our next film is also about a Civil War, but the Civil War. It's the 1989 military epic Glory.
I joked to Rachel. At least
What?
at least in this one, they had the decency to wear different colors so you could tell them apart.
Yeah.
It's like you wear blue, I
Yeah.
wear gray.
Good point. Very
So
good.
at least we have the decency to show each other which side we're on.
I know. No, that was they knew what they were doing back then in the 1800s.
Yeah, they had much
Um,
better coloring choices.
So I wanted to pair Civil War with the actual Civil War film Glory, directed by Edward Zwick. And this is a wonderful film, fantastic cast as usual in this one too. You've got Matthew Broderick, who plays Captain Robert Gould Shaw, who basically a young military officer who is tasked with leading one of the first all African American regiments in the Civil War, and the results are fantastic. In the regiment, we've got soldiers played by Denzel Washington and Morgan Freeman. Carrie Elways plays Matthew Broderick's right-hand man. You've got a fantastic score by the late great James Horner, and yeah, the cinematography is near perfect in this film too.
I was also going to say, don't forget the late great Andre Braugher.
Oh,
Yes,
of course, who was super young in this, and yeah, it's based on a true story and taken from different sources. I think they took some liberties too, actually, with the story.
Yeah, they did.
But the film is strong, and 35 years later, it definitely holds up. And it's a very strong film. There are very strong moments, a lot of very intense imagery, especially the scene with Denzel Washington's character. If you haven't seen it, I won't get into
I was going to say Denzel did win Best Supporting Actor.
He
for
did
his
for that.
performance
Yeah, he
in
did.
this, so.
His first of 2 Oscars. And he was memorable, as were all the other actors. But I think his performance in particular.
Yeah, it's crazy. This movie, Oscar-wise, was up against Driving Miss Daisy, my Left Foot,
Yeah.
and Do the Right Thing.
Yeah. Oh my God! What a crazy.
what a weird year that was.
It was some amazing films, and Driving Miss Daisy also had Morgan Freeman.
Yep.
So strong year for him. And yeah, it was really great revisiting this film because I love Edward Zwick's direction. He's done a lot. He did the Last Samurai.
Makes a lot of sense.
I think he did Legends of the Fall.
Yep.
So these are very like sweeping epics and about human drama.
Yeah.
But again, enough with my rant. Chris, what were your thoughts on Glory 1989?
Sweeping epic really defines it. It's funny, given the context that both movies pertain to Civil War. They feel worlds apart, in my opinion. One is so gritty, and one is meant for Hollywood. It's stylized. It almost has a feel-good quality, despite the context of prejudices that are going on. But it feels definitely more Hollywood than as Civil War.
Yeah.
With that said, it is a great.
Yeah.
It's worth it. It really introduced us to these young actors, Denzel being one of them, even Morgan Freeman, who was kind of new-ish at the time to be, as a leading man, in a leading role like that.
Right.
But it kind of introduced us to a whole diversity of characters that have become just mammoth legends, in their own right. So it has this great feel-good quality that you wouldn't expect for a war film, in my opinion.
Of course. Yeah, and again, I can't praise the performances enough. It was interesting to see Matthew Broderick in the role. I think he did a pretty good job. He was kind of reluctant to taking the command, but because he was like kind of like an upper crust.
Yeah, he was
in
real life. Shaw was the Sons of he was an abolitionist.
Yeah.
And so, but at the same time, even though you may support abolition, doesn't mean you were in support of leading a segregated army battalion. So.
And integrated, or
Yeah.
Well, I guess it would be segregated.
It would be segregated.
It would still be segregated.
Yeah, I believe it wasn't until Vietnam that the army actually integrated for the first time.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. And I'm glad that they didn't hit us over the head too much with the racism. There is racism.
I mean, there is. I mean,
yeah.
it is a huge part of it. But
Right.
It's the because the kind of the notes that I put is it's like I think one of the things that Glory gets really right, and again, it's hard to tell how intentional or unintentional it is, and the intentionality is that the screenplay, the screenwriter got the notion of the fact that this is we don't remember who fought, and it's one of those things of when you think of the Civil War, you don't really think of a black
An all-black regiment.
an all-black
right.
regiment. And for him, he grew up in the Boston Commons, so he saw the plaque that is shown at the end of the movie. He saw it all day, almost his entire life, not knowing the background behind that. And that's kind of one of those things. It's like, yeah, why is that not taught?
Okay.
Why do we have history where we don't show the people who fought
Yeah.
and who fought for that reason? And it's the thing of, and it's always good to remember that they're the people who always fought in these wars. Sorry, I'm kind of getting a little lost.
It's okay. No, go. I like it. It's good.
But I don't know if you wanted to add anything to it, because I know
Yeah,
that we talked about that one a lot.
Yeah, I have some kind of complicated feelings about this movie because this was my first time seeing it.
Yeah.
It kind of, this is going to sound strange, but it kind of reminded me a bit of League of Their Own in that not
A certain group of
not
people.
tonally,
Right.
but because it's like from the outside, it's supposed to be a story about this black regiment.
Yeah.
But what it spends most of its running time like focusing on is oftentimes the white characters in the story.
Yeah.
And the actors that are in this are legends. I mean, Morgan Freeman, Denzel Washington, Andre Braugher, they're all just like incredible actors. And similarly to how I feel going back and rewatching League of Their Own, which I also do love and I do appreciate for what it's trying to do, however successful or unsuccessful it is. Like I can look at those performances from them and say, yeah, they really tried to tell this, like each of these actors tried to tell this story very well.
Right.
It's just for me the problem that I want to see more of them. And I get that they're going off of the letters that were written by this colonel,
Right.
that's played by Matthew Broderick, but he's the least interesting character in the story
Yeah.
for me.
Right.
Like, and that's not a dig at Matthew Broderick. He's
No.
a fine actor, and he does I think he does the best that he can with the role, but it's just not nearly as interesting as some of the conversations. Whenever they're cutting over to him, I'm like, no, let's go back to the conversation that Andre Braugher and that Denzel that they're having
That
about
little rivalry. Yeah.
Yeah, and about the notion that it's like that Andre Braugher's character is trying so very hard to fit into white society, and that Denzel is like, no, but the problem is, as much as you try, they're never going to accept you.
Yeah.
Well, and that's where I feel the movie, like again, it's the movie does a good job. I think probably the most important conversation is the one between Shaw and Tripp of when he asks him to carry the regimental colors, where it's like literally carry the colors of your country into battle, like, and Tripp, the Denzel Washington character, puts it incredibly well, in which when the war is done, whoever wins, Broderick gets to go home. He's got a wife, he's got a cozy cabin, he's got everything waiting for him. Whereas, what do they have? They have nothing.
Yeah.
They either have a return to bondage or they're giving nothing. And that when the war's done, somebody like Gold gets to retire and go home.
Yeah.
For everybody there, for Morgan Freeman character, even Bauer, the war doesn't stop when there's a surrender on one side.
That's right.
And you see that, and that was the truth of it, is that it is a never-ending war of fighting for respect, fighting for every inch that is given.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that Glory does pay lip service to, but I think it does a good job
Yeah,
of.
and I think that's also where I see so much crossover with League of Their Own, because they keep telling the women in that movie, your country needs you.
Right.
Like this is the thing that you can do for your country in wartime, is to, step up and take this role, even
Right.
though there's going to be people that think that you shouldn't be doing this.
Right. And so one of the best aspects of Glory, in my opinion, is James Horner's score. And I think this is the first instance where Horner utilized this kind of like this heroic and triumphant thematic material, which we would definitely hear in Apollo 13 and to some extent in Titanic. I think Glory was like the first of many fantastic Horner scores, and I just wanted to take a few minutes to discuss the brilliance of the score. Eric, did the score move you as much as it did me?
I mean, of course, it's one of those ones where it's like there's like with the horns especially.
Yeah.
Like there's such a thing of where like there's a certain sound you associate when it comes to especially Civil War movies.
The bugle.
Like I almost feel like I need to go back and watch Gettysburg to be like a good comparison of.
Well, that was actually that was Randy Edelman, who's kind of similar to Horner.
Right, but it's like of the notion of just how those horns are used and it's how much I associate them with these, like especially American war films.
Yeah.
So
It really, it definitely elevates the battle sequences.
Yeah.
Like the last scene of Fort Wagner.
Yep.
They actually had, I believe it was the Harlem Children's Choir that Horner worked with to basically bring that score to life. And yeah, it's one of my favorite Horner scores, and it's really memorable.
I can see why.
Yeah. So, yeah, I just wanted to discuss that for a bit. But Glory, 1989, those who are watching and listening, check out this landmark film. It's so important, so well made, and it's got all the right, it hits all the right notes. So that's Glory, 1989.
I agree with Rachel, though. Double bill it with League of Their Own.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm similar to League of Their Own. I'm also waiting for a modern day miniseries reimagining of it. I would love
Like League of Their Own?
I would love to see a Band of Brothers style miniseries that is covering the story of Glory and recenters the story, similar to what Amazon did with League of Their Own with their miniseries.
Like a reimagining. It's not really a reboot or a requel or
Yeah,
It's
but,
its
but
own
more-
thing.
It's its own
yeah,
thing.
yeah, kind of similar to the way that like with Band of Brothers,
Yeah.
that it's kind of expanding and also taking a deeper dive into these real historical people.
Yeah, I'm surprised they haven't really done that.
The Amazon League of Their Own was criminally underrated.
Oh, really?
Yes, absolutely.
I overlooked it because sequels or spin-offs or what have you that come out 30 years after the original. Not great.
The only thing it has to do with the original one is it's talking about that time of baseball and about
Okay.
the women's league, but it tells such a different story with
Yes.
such different characters, and it wants to do such different things.
Okay.
like these are two polar opposites.
So there's really no connection story.
Yeah, it's not like you don't see like Gina Davis walk into the background.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
a scene
Yeah.
or something.
Tom Hanks
Yeah.
pops out.
Yeah, Tom Hanks like, hey guys, what are you talking about?
There's, I think, a few throwaway lines that kind of connect back. Like, there is a character that says there's no crying in baseball, but again,
Yeah.
it's so completely disconnected.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
'Cause-
there aren't any carryover.
Well,
characters.
and actually, if anything, kind of in line here, the two main elements it's dealing with is the idea of sexuality in the women's league,
Okay.
and also the fact that the women's league was segregated.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
a black pitcher
Okay.
who cannot get a part of that we follow her story because
Yeah.
as good as she is, she can't be a part of the leagues
and
because
she also can't be part of the Negro League because
She-
of the fact that
yep, she's a woman. Yep.
And so she's trying to fight for her place both
Yeah.
as a black person and also as a woman.
So it showed that, like with Glory, there were a lot of stories that
Yeah.
we're still not told about
You're right.
these things.
There's a wealth of the history of our country. There's
Yep.
so rich that we need these stories to be told. You're right.
Yep,
Where is the League of Their Own series streaming?
that's Amazon.
On Amazon.
Amazon.
Yeah,
Okay, cool,
yep,
cool.
Yep, and it's just the one season. Sadly, it
Uh.
was supposed to get more than that, but
Hmm.
there might have been some backlash from the writer's strike a little bit
Okay.
based on some of the people that spoke out during the writer's strike. So,
Gotcha. So a delicate time, sensitive
yes,
time.
yep.
Any references to Hans Zimmer in that?
References to Hans
I don't.
Zimmer.
I'm
Yeah.
trying, I don't remember who did the score for the TV show.
Yeah,
So
I don't remember.
I think League of
Yeah.
Their Own now goes next to Glow for Give Us the Final
Ah.
Season.
That's
Yeah,
it.
I think also the only other real reference to the movie is also the appearance of Rosie O'Donnell in a role that is
Yeah, very different.
Oh, really?
different. Yeah, yeah.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah,
that
it's-
this now
it's
became
more
a
of-
League of Their Own.
I know.
podcast.
Hey,
Yeah.
we're rolling.
Yep. She appears in one episode as a very interesting character.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay,
Yep.
check that one
Agreed.
out. And it's only one season.
just the one season.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we're just about out of time, but I want to just go around. I'm looking at you, Eric. Hopefully you have something new, any plugs, anything going on in your life.
Watch X-Men 97.
Okay, I'll take it. Rachel.
Yes, you can find me on Instagram at Second Act Bake Shop. You can find Dobby, our sweet dog, on Instagram at Dobby the House Doggo. You can find me over at Chisiamo plating desserts, certain dinner services. And yeah, watch League of Their Own on Amazon.
Sounds good. And before the show, we were talking about the focaccia. That sounds very appetizing.
Yeah,
so
yep.
definitely want to check that out. Cool. And Mr. Clemente, as for you, sir, any plugs?
Nothing. Just watch Devs.
Three show recommendations.
I love it.
Plugs.
Yes.
That's it.
Yes.
And
Well, do we have like a minute to talk about the
Sure.
music of Civil War? We talked about Hans Zimmer.
yeah.
But I love the soundtrack to Civil War. I actually have it on YouTube, and I play it during the day.
Oh, really?
Garland made some interesting choices for the music for the
Yeah.
needle
Yeah.
drops.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's very much like more modern, more snappy than you would expect in a war zone. So
Yeah.
I joked to Rachel. I'm like, I have to give kudos to the fact that never once did Guns N' Roses play.
And there you go. Well, all right.
that would be too nervous.
And as for me, I've got some plugs. So for Under the Radar, if you want to tune in on Slam Radio through SiriusXM every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, check out the Under the Radar on there. Also, the video version of the podcast will be on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, where we're recording this right now. And that's every Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. And as always, feel free to subscribe and share the Under the Radar YouTube channel. So, guys, I want to thank you so much for tonight. This was lovely as always. Rachel Cole.
You need a soundboard. Randy.
We're working on it. Rachel Kolb, thank you. Eric Aubrey, thanks, sir.
I'm glad
And of
to-
course, the all-powerful Oz. I want to thank Chris Clemente. Perfect.
Looking forward to you in the Wicked movie.
Yes, definitely.
I try to hide myself a lot.
Nice. Well, don't hide too much because we love you.
Yeah.
And as for me, I'm Randy Younger. This has been Under the Radar, bringing movies and people together, one frame at a time. We'll see you next time. Take care.